video games? Heck yeah, I do. Do you want to play a board game that's just like those ultra cool, radical, skibbity-riz video games you're playing? I guess so. Well, that is unfortunate, because that game does not exist. Instead, here's Vantage. It's sort of like the games your middle-aged father used to play when he was a child, except with all the fun stripped out, and instead replaced with the feeling of sifting through your local library's card catalog system. Do you remember those old point-and-click adventure games like Monkey Island or King's Quest? When I was a kid, I would lose hours wandering around, completely enamored by the colorful characters and vibrant worlds, just absolutely waiting to be discovered. So when I heard about Vantage, I was pretty excited. It sounded like it was recapturing that same magic from my childhood. And when I started playing, I could see the influence from those older games. The way you move by selecting a compass direction on your current location card and then flipping to a new card, it feels like nudging Graham or Roger Wilco to the edge of the screen and then getting to watch a whole new scene come to life. But the longer I played, the more that spark of joy just sort of evaporated. The creativity and wonder and sense of discovery, it just eventually vanished. Sure, there were certainly moments and glimpses of wonderfully creative and fun moments, but the game felt like it was hoarding those moments and instead handing me these sort of like mundane interactions and then taking a step back and acting as if I was supposed to be impressed by what I was playing. And unlike those older games, in Vantage you are purposely limited to only experiencing a single element on any given location. Since once you select an action to perform on any given card, well, that's when the game steps in and says, that's enough interaction for you, buddy. Move along and get lost. And funny, I don't remember Alexander being told to pack it in after one click on a scene in King's Quest VI.
You enter an old and dusty shop, filled with wondrous curiosities.
Welcome, traveler. What do you seek from my pawn shop? Services? Prices? Sure, just pilfer a mint in front of me before saying hello.
You stare at the shopkeeper.
Sir, would you like to ask me something?
You stare at the shopkeeper.
Do you maybe want to study my books?
You stare at the shopkeeper.
Are you still breathing? What the hell was that? It would have made more sense if you came in to smash something.
You leave the shop, having done nothing of importance.
But listen, I get it, like it's a mechanical necessity used to make the game more replayable and have the players make decisions rather than going through the entire card of actions like they're checking items off on a grocery list. Bad things like that added up, and the more I played, the less I felt like I was actually exploring. Because the exploratory experience in Vantage, it just eventually just evolves into overwhelming amounts of emptiness and tedium. On any given turn in a board game, I want to feel impactful. I want to feel as though I have agency. But oftentimes I would simply choose the action on any given card based on the skill color that had the most empty dice slots on my cards. This isn't a misplay or an accident. This is by design. Vantage is exploration with the illusion of choice. And worse yet, there is a decent number of choices in Vantage where you have no clue what the results are going to be. It's like LA Noire, where pressing doubt was always this thrilling and funny experience for all the wrong reasons, because you had no idea if Cole was going to politely say he doesn't trust the response, or if he was going to froth at the mouth and threaten to kill and cannibalize the suspect's children for lying.
He presumed to ask me questions.
We do a lot of presuming here in the United States, Consul General. It comes with the turf.
You young boys, Valdez. Are you a madman?
And it really sucks because if I don't have a good sense of the results, my feeling of discovery just completely vanishes. The game simply strips away what little agency I had left, leaving the experience to be less about discovery and exploration, and more just about rolling these tiny little colorful dice and just playing a game of Russian roulette. And that is not enjoyable. Classic PC adventure games worked because you could poke and prod at everything on screen, squeezing joy out of every inch of the game. But in Vantage, exploration is reduced to pressing a button and watching a scene play out, sort of like Dragon's Lair, but with less quarters. The game just didn't provide that exploration that it promises, as every new scene felt hollow and joyless. Hell, I have experienced more meaningful exploration and challenge typing out commands in a Leisure Suit Larry game. Nice. Do you remember Mega Man or Battletoads? Those old games had me at the edge of my seat as a kid, screaming at the TV every single time I died. And yet no matter how often I failed, I kept coming back for more and more punishment. Compared to most games today, those classics were brutally difficult. And yeah, they could be a little frustrating. But when you finally pulled off a win, it was glorious. Like summoning a mountain after weeks of falling off cliffs. Every failure, it wasn't wasted time, it was part of the story. Now, Vantage is described by the publisher as a roguelike, and either the publisher doesn't know what that word means, or they only played Vantage while heavily concussed. In Vantage, you are constantly chucking dice and doing your best to mitigate any potential damage through the token use and dice placement, because any dice you can't place gets placed in your penalty zone and you suffer damage. This is the game portion of Vantage, and the way you can flex a little strategic muscle by feeling like you're actually making smart plays. I am a huge fan of games that facilitate in the player a feeling of cleverness. I love when a game makes you feel like you just pulled off something awesome. But here is the hard truth, okay? You will never have that experience playing Vantage. And you know what? Rolling time symbols and then placing those time symbols on the time symbol slot on your card, well, I don't really feel that screams clever play to me. And in fact, it strips what little agency I had left to begin with, making the entire experience feel pretty hollow and uninspired. And that is a shitty feeling to instill in your players. Worse yet, Vantage even removes the possibility of failure. Every action succeeds, no matter what. Imagine if you were playing Mega Man, and every jump cleared, every shot landed, every boss battle felt like you just won because you simply showed up. That is not a challenge. That is a Saturday morning cartoon. Failure is what makes games exciting. It's what makes them interesting. It's what makes them stories worth telling in roguelikes. Hell, in any classic console game, the punishment is part of the reward. You practice, you adapt, and eventually you conquer. That's where the fun is. That is where the adventure is. In Vantage, there is nothing to master, nothing to overcome. It's less a roguelike adventure and more like a self-guided geriatric bus tour across the Great Plains. Now, technically, you can in fact lose in Vantage. At least early on, anyway. But once you figure out that the trick is just expanding your card tableau until you've got dice slots for every single possibility, you no longer lose, you sort of ascend. You become a god, a bored, unstoppable god, wandering through a hollow and empty world. But maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe it's just the gamer in me that prevents me from truly enjoying the cozy experience of the story of Vantage. But is Vantage really all that cozy at all? And is the story engaging? Do you remember Harvest Moon? One of the original cozy video games. In it, you took care of livestock, harvested vegetables, talked to townsfolk, all while soaking in an incredibly heartwarming story and a super cozy soundtrack. Damn, that's cozy. Now, cozy has become a fairly popular term these days to describe video games and board games to the point where it's become a little obnoxious, but I understand the sentiment. There is something about these cute characters and fairly laid back story that just resonates with the soul, you know, like a warm blanket and a mug of hot chocolate. So it's no wonder that people search high and low for a board game that can replicate that same delightfully charming, heartwarming experience. And so what if Vantage isn't challenging? You know what? Neither was Harvest Moon. Both are supposed to be about going with the flow, you know, like enjoying the sights, letting the story just wash over you. Life is a journey, man. But does Vantage actually deliver that kind of cozy narrative? Is it compelling enough to make up for the lack of challenge and agency? No, I don't think so. Vantage is like the live, laugh, love of board games. It promises depth and engagement, but what it actually gives you is empty, cliche, and aggressively inoffensive. Any given story in Vantage plays out like a grab bag of random side quests that typically have no connection to each other, with an overarching narrative that has the same adventure scope of clearing rats out of a townsfolk basement, with a narrative cohesion of a picture book with all the pages scattered on the floor. The moments that are supposed to be cute and funny end up feeling lame and cliche. Moments that are supposed to be somber end up feeling forced and silly, and moments that are supposed to be exciting quickly change into complete boredom as the pacing in the narrative starts feeling like a manic drunken schizophrenic on his 8th energy drink. The art is the one thing doing most of the heavy lifting in Vantage. It's evocative, a little Dixit-like, the kind of thing where you find yourself scanning each card for hidden little details. But sadly, the longer you look, the more you realize there's not much to actually find. And it's not like I'm bad at immersing myself in the story. I'm the type of guy who will scream a booming "hell yeah" at 2 a.m. in the morning when I finally beat Milena in Elden Ring, waking up both my dog and Kim in the process. So it's not that I just don't get it, you know? It's not that the game just isn't made for me. Even a cozy little narrative needs some substance. And to truly be cozy, you know, like it needs some semblance of heart. Harvest Moon has it, Stardew Valley has it, Vantage doesn't have it. Because Vantage isn't cozy. The vast majority of times you play Vantage, you're not going to feel those warm fuzzies because Vantage is incredibly sterile. To me, Vantage's aesthetic is the typical, like, trying too hard to be family-friendly content that seems to be popular at Stonemaier Games these days, with all the charm of a contemporary Pixar film. Seriously, the downfall of that film studio, it needs to be studied because the movies they're bad now. They're really, really bad. And worst of all, I didn't suffer through this contrived, cozy experience entirely by myself, as I should have. No, I decided to drag my friends along this meandering journey to kick the can down Vantage's cardboard road. Do you remember Peak? Okay, well, there's not much to remember given that it's a new game, but I can't go altering the flow of my transitions here on the last section, so you're gonna have to humor me. In Peak, you and your buddies scale a mountain together, pulling each other over dangerous ledges, sharing resources, reviving downed friends, and generally working together towards the same goal. Every move you make is directly tied to your partner's success, and their failure is your failure. Alright, now imagine the game Peak, where instead of working together to summit the mountain, you are all on different sides of the mountain, making your way up independently, and the only way you can interact with one another was once in a while sending a word of encouragement and telling the group what you see as you scale the mountain by yourself. So I'm standing next to this like weird orb thing, and like all the plants are purple and shit, and it's kind of like the movie Avatar, but without the sexy cat people. Wait, no, there are sexy cat people in this. Because that is the exact cooperative experience offered by Vantage. I'm not playing with people this game, I'm simply playing beside them. I see so many wasted opportunities to have neat ways to interact with other players, and mechanically, there's nothing here. There's nothing here beyond like simply trading equipment and then passing them a token now and then. Here is the most obvious form of cooperation in Vantage. Whenever your teammate rolls their dice, and one of their dice results is the exact same symbol depicted on your player card with the lightning bolt symbol, you can place that dice on your card. Now Vantage lists 1 to 6 players on the back of the box. That is a lie. Yeah, technically you and 5 of your friends could in fact sit around a table together, rolling colorful dice and silent reading cards together, and then once in a while vaguely describing what it is you're seeing. But you gotta trust me on this, that's not an experience you want. Now I played this at every single player count. just for this review. And trust me when I say that Vantage, it's not like Peak, where the fun increases with each new friend added to the cooperative experience. Some playthroughs of Vantage can take many hours. With more people at the table, I'll tell you right now, no amount of describing the pretty art on your individual card will make you feel like you're enjoying the story together. You're supposed to be experiencing this as a group, and yet it just feels so oddly solitary. And that's the difference. In Peak, every decision feels shared. The stress, the laughter, the triumph, you're in it together. In Vantage, cooperation is nothing more than a checkbox on the back of the box, like the player count or playtime. A promise it never even comes close to fulfilling. Listen, if reading random story bits from cards like you just flipped to some page in a novel found at a laundromat and read a random sentence interests you, you're gonna love this game. And there is nothing I can say here that will change that. It is a fairly unique experience, and there will be people who will walk away from this one feeling like it's their favorite game of all time. Or at least until a new bright and shiny game comes along. Hell, I'm a little late on this review, and most of the other reviews I've seen all seem to be pretty positive, so I understand that I'm in the minority. There is some cleverness in this game and unique situations that certainly feel pretty cool. You know, once I built an entire town complete with casinos and movie theaters. Heck, once I became an underwater explorer, finding lost cities. But sadly, the regularity at which these events occur just isn't frequent enough to justify the 2 to sometimes 3 hours of playtime, especially for a game that is so mechanically vapid. Vantage isn't King's Quest, and it isn't Myst, okay? It's not going to give you the same sense of wonder you felt playing those games, as much as it tries to replicate the experience. Vantage is its own thing, and what it's offering, it's just not something I'm particularly interested in. Tabletop Turtle does not recommend Vantage.